Hello Wolfpack! In this video, we are going to take a look at how to write an effective speech introduction. Now, even though it may seem counterintuitive, you write the speech introduction last. You'll write the body first, then the conclusion, and then you'll finish your speech writing by writing the speech's introduction. The reason is you can't introduce something if you don't know exactly what it is that you're introducing. Each of the 4 speeches that you give this semester will have, as a part of it, the speech introduction. So in this video, we're going to go over what 5 components should be included in each speech's introduction. Now, the very first thing you should do when you are writing a speech is gain their attention. You want to somehow make your audience understand that they should listen to you, right? Make them want to listen to you. You can do this a few different ways. You could tell an anecdote or a story, cautionary tale. Make sure that you have a story that's pretty short, because the entire speech introduction can't be more than 10% of your entire speech. So you can't spend too long on any one story. You might give a startling fact or statistic. You might offer a quotation. You might ask the audience a rhetorical question. However you decide to go about gaining the audience's attention, you want to be sure that it's relevant to what you're going to be talking about. We're not going just for shock value here, right? Shock them and then make them listen and then talk to them. You want it to tie into what you're saying. So if you're convincing people to stop smoking, then the fact or statistic you share should be somehow related to smoking, not just some random statistic or fact. So make sure that it's relevant, make sure that it's brief, and make sure that it's appropriate in terms of the tone to the speech that you're actually going to be giving. If it's a light-hearted speech, you should have more of a light-hearted introduction, attention getter. If it's a more serious speech, you wouldn't want to start off with a joke. That the tone of that would be inappropriate. The second thing that you want to do during a speech's introduction is you want to tie it to the audience. Gain their attention and then somehow tie it to the audience. People sitting in your audience really want to know why should they care about this? Why should this matter to them? I did some sales training before I decided to come back and be a professor. I did a little bit of sales, and they said that people are tuned into the radio station WIIFM. What's in it for me? They want to know why they should listen to what you're talking to them about. So you have to tell them, right? Show them how it matters to them or why it's relevant to them. Tie it to them somehow. So you've gained their attention, you've shown them why it's relevant to them. The third thing you should do is establish your credibility. When you're establishing your credibility, what you're doing is telling the audience why you are credible to speak on a topic. Now, way back in the day, Aristotle said that there are 3 parts to credibility: competence, character, and goodwill. Competence, do you know what you're talking about? Character, are you a person of character? And third, goodwill, do you have the audience's best interest at heart? So in one statement in the speech's introduction, you want to try to show that you, in fact, know what you're talking about. The fourth thing you do in a speech introduction is you want to state the thesis. You've grabbed their attention, you've tied it to them somehow, made it relevant to them, you've shown why you're credible to speak on this, and then you want to tell them, here's explicitly what I'm going to be arguing today. Here's my overarching thesis. If you're making an argument, here's my overarching argument for this speech. Now, the thing to remember is we're getting ready to talk about the preview statement, but in our class, different people handle this differently, but in our class, I want you to make the thesis completely separate from the preview statement. It should be a declarative sentence, so I don't want you asking a question and having it count as your thesis. And I want it to allude to your main points without necessarily saying them explicitly in the thesis. It should really be a sentence that captures the essence of what your speech is about. Now, the final thing that you should do in a speech introduction is you want to preview the main points. Preview the main points of your speech. This really is exactly what it sounds like it would be. When your audience is listening to you, you want to make it as clear and easy as possible for them to follow along with you point by point. You want the organization of your speech to be such that it's obvious to them, okay, she or he is on main point 1. Okay, now they're moving to main point 2, main point 3. And that thinking begins in the introduction. So for the preview statement, you want to put it very last before you leave the introduction and launch into the body of your speech. And you're actually explicitly stating the main points that are going to be in the speech, matching the wording that you're using when you get to the main points. Right? In this speech, we're going to cover this, this, and this. Today I'm going to talk to you about this, this, and this. It's important when addressing this issue that we consider the following points: this, this, and this. You really do want to make it as explicit as you can so that it's as easy as possible for your listeners to follow along with you. So remember, you write the speech introduction last. You need to have the body of your speech done first, then write the conclusion, and then come back to the beginning and write the speech's introduction. So let's take a look at an example here of what a good introduction might look like. So if we had a speech that had these two main points, if you haven't eaten, this might make you a little bit hungry. Apologies. But if a speech had the main points of, let's say we're making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and the first main point is, the first step in making a PB&J sandwich is to gather the ingredients. And the second point is, the second step in making a PB&J sandwich is to assemble the ingredients. What we're looking at here is a demonstration speech. So what would a speech introduction look like that had those 2 points as its main points? You ready? This one's got more words on it. In 2015, after engaging in a class activity where he was asked to detail the making of a PB&J sandwich, Joshua Rubin wrote a book entitled The Peanut Butter and Jelly Sandwich, an authoritative work wherein he lays out in detail the various options for choosing bread, peanut butter, and jelly. Okay? That's the attention getter. And believe it or not, that's an actual book. Tied to the audience. So how would we make it relevant to an audience that we were speaking to? As college students, it's important to know how to make cheap meals that are also high in protein. You want to think about, remember that good audience analysis, what is my audience going to care about and why would they be interested in listening to this topic? Establish credibility. Why are you the person who should speak to us on this? I'm a huge fan of peanut butter and jelly, having made dozens of PB&J sandwiches in my lifetime, and recently read interesting info about this American classic. Okay. That's why you are the one who should be able to talk to us about how we can make this sandwich. Making a delicious peanut butter and jelly sandwich can be accomplished by following 2 easy steps. We have stated the thesis there. We are telling the audience, this is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. And then we'll follow up that thesis with a preview statement. In this speech, I will tell you first how to gather the necessary ingredients, and second, how to assemble the ingredients, right? So when you're writing your speech's introduction, remember you start right off with the attention getter. Do not start with, hello, my name is. Do not start with, I'm going to talk to you about. No. Start right off with your attention getter. Okay? Right off with your attention getter. I didn't necessarily love that the book talked about greeting the audience or having kind of this back and forth. I disagree with that. I think the way that you begin a speech is when you're called up, whether that's for a classroom speech or you're giving a speech at a venue outside of class, you walk to the place from which you will be speaking and you start immediately with your introduction, with your attention getter. So gain their attention, tie it to them, show them why they need to listen to it, how it's relevant to them, establish your credibility, tell them this is why I can speak on this topic, state your thesis to them, and then explicitly preview the main points that you will cover in your speech. All right, that's it for speech introductions.